You are looking at the 2015 release of the Matchbox Alfa Romeo 4C. You might think it might be 2016 because you're thinking, well, didn't they already release the red version in 2015? And I think technically it was 2015 when this model hit the pegs, but that is actually a 2014 release of the Alfa Romeo. Nonetheless, it's been a model that I think a lot of people are very happy with. Matchbox did a really nice job on it. It's stout, as the 4C might be. I don't know if you want to describe it that way, but it's short and small and compact and wide like the 4C is. And for the Matchbox variation collectors, we were even indulged with a variation. A painted intake and an unpainted intake. The unpainted intake was the early release and the painted intake was the late release, and we'll see them painted moving forward. But that's the 2014 release. This is the 2015 release, and I think it's something that people are going to be enjoying finding. But it's the first Alfa Romeo that we've had for a few years. But it shouldn't have been that way if it wasn't for a bit of a licensing fiasco with Alfa Romeo. And that's what we're going to jump into today before I remove that. This is the Alfa Romeo Giulia Sprint, released in 2007, among the many, many gems that Matchbox released at that point. And it was a star from the second it was released. Bright red, great wheels, detailed on the front, detailed on the back, with the Alfa emblem, the clover. And it was a model that was actually, back in that time, very hard to find. And I think we all saw a bright future with this model. But only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There were only 6 releases of this model, and there's a reason for it. That's a red version. This is a red version, released a little bit later. And here's where it gets confusing. Here's a white version. Here is a different white version. And here is yet another white version. And these are all separate releases. And we'll get into that a little bit. Back to the original. So that's the 2007 release. And it's released in a very signature Alfa Romeo color in red. And then logically, because the Giulia came in 2 colors, the recolor was released in white. And we'll show you the details on that one. Same thing, just beautiful from every angle. And so that was 2007. Well, there was actually one other model. This one. This one was done in a more metallic red for the end of the year 2007 First Edition's 10-pack. And you'll notice it's a metallic red, but it's red. Well, Matchbox started getting word from Alfa Romeo after they'd approved the license that because the Giulia Sprint GTA was only released in red and white, that was all that Matchbox was allowed to release the car in. Well, this didn't really sit well with Matchbox because they had intentions of releasing it in several fun little colors, and if you look at the other Alfa Romeo releases, you'll see the Junior and things were released in all kinds of colors, but the Giulia Sprint GTA was only released in red and white. So Matchbox said, okay, well, if we have to do that, we'll go back and we'll do this one in red, a kind of red to make it a little bit different, and that one made it to the 10-packs. And the next year, they wanted to release this white version. Now, if you look at the 2007 white version compared to the 2008 white version, it might not show up totally here, but one is a more pearl color, the 2008 version, while one is more of a plain white. And I think if you focus in on that, you'll see that there is somewhat of a difference. Well, even then, Alfa Romeo got word of that pearl white version and said, no, we didn't release it in pearl white, we released it in white. So what happened? That pearl white version was only an early release. They went back to the factory and they said, release it in plain white. Just like the 2007 version. The only thing that Matchbox could change was the rear. And so there are two different licenses. One is a code, I think, for maybe the manufacturing number, and then the Alfa Romeo logo on there. One without a triangle, one with a triangle. And as I'm putting these back and forth, I'm going to forget which is which. So I'm trying to keep them in order over here off of the camera because I'm going to forget. As a matter of fact, I did. So that, I think I had them wrong. That is the 2007 version. And this is the 2008 in pearl and the 2008 in plain white. And those were the options. And that's the 2008 release. Well, Matchbox had other intentions. They wanted to release the Alfa Romeo in the Best of International series. So they went to Alfa Romeo and they asked, and they said, what color can we do it in? And they said, well, red or white. And so Matchbox, true to form, released it in white. The only difference, outside of another rear license plate, is that because this is a premium version, they were able to add the emblem on the side. And that is the only thing that makes this a premier version. Actually, I should take that back. The older one, the other ones had a chrome interior. I don't know if you can see that. That was so they could have the chrome bumpers. This one they were able to do in a black interior. They were able to paint the interior. So I take that back a little bit. But from the exterior, that's all you got is that side emblem that made this a premier model. That's all they could work with Alfa Romeo. So that was the 2000, I think, 7 or 8 Best of International. And they wanted to do one of the new Superfast versions. So they went to Alfa Romeo and asked, what color can we use? And they said, red. And so they used red. And again, side emblem, because that's premier, the black interior, they were able to paint that. And in this case, they had just developed a new disc wheel, and that was able to put on. The disc wheel is fantastic. In fact, the disc wheel makes this my favorite version of the Alfa Romeo. Giulia. Different license plate, the emblem on the side, on the back, and of course the front grille, which is just fantastic. It is such a lovely model. It is so perfectly done. I think all the details are there on this one. The only problem is it was so accurate that it was never done in any other color. So, fun little models to look for are that pearl version and the more metallic red version, because they're going to be a little different. And then there's one other release that is very limited, and this one is actually the very first release. Red, white, except for this version in copper. And what you're looking at is one of the main reasons the Matchbox Gathering in Albuquerque, New Mexico is so worth going to. Because Matchbox goes all out in the convention models that they release. This one was approved by Alfa Romeo, and maybe there was a change in licensors, but this version was approved in copper with the green, white, and black racing stripes, with racing rally details on the front, the orange headlights, the grille, and then on top the racing stripes with the Gathering logo on top. And then of course some rear details as well, including that JG on the rear license plate, which stands for Jim Gallegos, who organizes the convention every year. This model, even done in Spectraflame copper, is also such a beautiful model, such a great model to have. but a hard one to find. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I'm a little nervous about it. It seems to be bubbling. I don't know if those details start coming in the paint, but this was done in 2007, which is the same year that Super Treasure Hunts were done, that right now are starting to bubble. And I'm wondering if the same paint was used here, and I'm getting a little worried. But if it happens, it happens. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm happy to have the Alfa Romeo collection. It's an interesting story on this one. There were rumors that this was going to be converted into a Alfa Romeo Junior, and that never materialized, but I will maybe bring that up with the Matchbox team the next time I talk to them and see if that's something that's still a possibility, because this model needs to be back. And it would look great in blue, it would look great in, well, you name it, black, gray, all kinds of great colors if we could get this model back. Just if it could be slightly modified into the Junior, I think it would be great. Anyway, there's a little history on the Alfa Romeo. I might take some pictures of these and post on the blog later. But for now, this is a YouTube exclusive for you guys. Talk to you later.